I don't have much time to write this, so I'm sorry for any spelling mistakes. My phone battery is about to die. I called 911, my friends, and my family, but no one believed me. Not even my own mother. You are my last hope. I know most of you are open-minded, kind-hearted people. Please, please, please tell me what to do. I'll try to explain what happened as briefly as I can. It happened a week ago, although according to my phone, it happened yesterday. Everything is just so horrifyingly strange. I had just been to the bar with a couple of my colleagues. Usually I would have left with them, but on this particular night, there was some creepy guy following me around, so I decided to leave earlier. The street was empty, so I drunkenly walked in the middle of it, looking down in the black asphalt. This sounds more stupid than it was, I think. It was a small street with little to no traffic, especially late at night. The first strange thing I noticed was how all the sounds, the wind, the birds, the dogs barking in the distance, quietened down and went completely silent. I didn't care though, and I just kept my eyes down, thinking about how nice it would be to sneak into bed with my boyfriend when I got home. A few seconds later, something on the ground caught my eye. It was a large red button, as big as a manhole, and beneath it the word exit was written with large white letters. I stopped and looked at it, confused out of my mind. I had walked down this road 1,000 times before and never seen any huge buttons in the middle of the road. I looked up and I don't even know how to describe it. The buildings were gone. Everything. I looked around and everything was gone. The asphalt continued in all directions, all the way to the horizon. It looked like a parking lot with no end in sight. "Hello?" I yelled. I shook my head, trying to return to reality, fearing I had lost my mind. My hands began to sweat, my breath became irregular, and my heart was racing. Panting, I ran a few meters, then I ran back again. What's happening? What's happening? What's happening? The sun rose on the horizon, but it was too early. The morning rays had a whiteness to them that hurt my eyes. There wasn't a single cloud in the sky. I looked at the button again. Exit. I was still in a state of panic, unable to think, and that word, exit, was the only word that echoed in my head. I wanted out of here. I crouched down and tried to press the button, but it wouldn't move. I was too weak. Instead, I tried to jump on it, but it still didn't budge. Whatever I did, I couldn't push it down. I sat next to the button for what felt like hours, hoping I would snap out of this nightmare. But I didn't. The sun was extremely bright in the sky now, and the heat was unbearable. This was when I made my first phone calls. I needed help. With a frantic voice, I tried to explain to everyone I called what had happened to me. They asked me where I was, but when I began to ramble on about my experience, they just kept asking me where I really was. They all thought I'd gone mad. The air vibrated off in the distance, making the asphalt look wet and shiny. I began walking, irrationally thinking that there was something over there, maybe a lake. I walked for hours, but the lake that I thought I saw never came any closer. I was following a mirage, nothing more. I continued to walk even after I realised this. Then I saw a small dot moving in the distance. Was it another optical illusion, or just my mind tricking me? I couldn't tell, honestly, but it gave me some hope. I yelled as loud as I could, which wasn't very loud because my throat was so dry. Is there anybody there? I walked and walked. I saw the dot moving again, but then it disappeared from view. A while later, I don't know how much later exactly, another dot appeared on the horizon. This one was standing still. I felt hope again, although I didn't know what to hope for, and ran as quick as I could. The sun hadn't moved at all, just as if it had gotten stuck in the sky. I was sweating profusely and the thirst was killing me. The dot turned out to be a yellow road roller. It just stood there in the middle of this no man's land. I couldn't wrap my mind around why it was there. I looked inside it. Based on some trash under the driver's seat, I could tell it had been used. I began yelling for help again, but my voice was too weak at this point. No one would have heard me. I climbed into the vehicle. To my great relief, there was a water bottle inside. I took a small sip, knowing I had to be careful not to waste it all at once. And then I did the only thing I could think of. I started the engine and began to drive. I hadn't used a road roller before, so it took some time for me to figure out how to operate it. It was very slow, as expected. I don't think it went past jogging speed. It wasn't until after I had made some turns that I realised what I had to do. I had to find the button and run over it. The road roller would be heavy enough to push it down. However, I didn't remember from what direction I had come. My only option was to simply pick one direction and then, if I didn't find anything, return and pick another one. I put my jacket on the ground where I was now so that I could find my way back and moved out. I knew how long it had taken for me to get to the road roller, so I had somewhat of an idea of how long I had to go before giving up and returning to my jacket. My first attempt failed, and so did my second and third attempts. My neck was beginning to sting as the sun kept shining on it mercilessly now that I didn't wear my jacket anymore. Then something happened that totally screwed with my already unstable mind. I found my jacket, but not where I had left it. I picked it up and went back to confirm, and yes, the jacket I put on the ground was still there. Now I had two identical jackets with the same contents in their pockets. It didn't make any sense. Nothing did. I kept going. During all of this, it calmed me down a little bit that I could still text my boyfriend. He still didn't believe me though. Everyone was worried sick now, thinking I was lost somewhere completely out of my mind. I was out of my mind, but not in the way that they thought. Hours went by. There seemed to be an endless amount of gas in the road roller, but my phone battery was running out. I turned it off to conserve its life. I just want to go home, I cried into the hot air. Another dot moved on the horizon. What is that? I asked myself. Then I heard something behind me. Another road roller. It was driving in another direction, crossing my path behind me. And in the driver's seat, I didn't believe my eyes. It was me. I was driving the other road roller without my jacket on. Shocked, I watched myself. We were identical, or at least I thought so until the other me turned her face toward me. She gave me this creepy smile like she knew something I didn't. I was too scared to say anything. Instead, we just passed each other by. A few days went by like this. I'm not sure how many, because the sun never left the sky. It just kept on shining. During these days, I saw more dots on the horizon moving about, and I encountered myself on 2 more occasions. I don't know if it was the same person as I saw before, or additional doppelgangers. I tried to communicate with them, but they just smiled at me in that creepy way and drove off. I began to think that they were all looking for the button, and that they would strand me here and replace me at home if they pressed it before me. I had some luck, because I found more water bottles and empty road rollers, which meant I didn't have to die of thirst. I finally saw the button. However, one of my doppelgangers was driving toward it right in front of me. I couldn't let her get to it first. My life depended on it. "Stop!" I yelled. She turned around and smiled, but didn't stop. It was impossible for me to pull ahead with my road roller, so I jumped off and ran toward her until I caught up with her. In pure desperation, I grabbed her and pulled her out of the driver's seat while the road roller kept going. We both climbed up on it and struggled in the driver's seat, trying to take control of it. Then, driven by survival instinct and fueled by a surge of adrenaline, I pushed her so that she fell down in front of the road roller. Her screams, coming out of her as she was slowly crushed under the heavy roller, weren't natural. There was a kind of glitchiness to it, and it was too high-pitched. It sounded almost like a little girl. The blood splashed everywhere. I tried not to look at it as I steered the road roller toward the button. It was pressed down with a satisfying click. I opened my eyes, even though I couldn't remember closing them. A beeping sound could be heard near me. Groggily, I looked around. Everything had returned. The wind, the birds, even the dogs barking in the distance. I felt relief, but just for a second. A man came running toward me, screaming his lungs out. It wasn't until now I realised that I was still sitting in the road roller. It stood in the middle of a playground. I stumbled out of the vehicle and landed in a pool of blood. My world started spinning. Dread settled into my stomach. I didn't know what to do. The hysterical man kept coming closer. I ran into a small forest nearby. I'm sitting in it right now. My phone has been ringing non-stop since I turned it on again. And by now, I can hear police sirens coming closer and closer. Oh, please. Is there a way out of this nightmare?